The music was loud enough to blur conversation, but not so loud. I couldn't hear my daughter's voice slice clean through the air. "You're not welcome at my wedding," Delaney said, smiling at her bridesmaids as if she'd just delivered a punchline. They laughed, not awkwardly, confidently. One leaned in and added, "She doesn't even match the vibe." I stood at the end of the buffet table holding a small paper gift bag with her favorite linen napkins inside. My other hand gripped the edge of the table just to keep steady. I didn't say a word, just nodded, placed the gift on the designated table, and stepped back into the blur of chatter and music. No one stopped me. No one looked twice. They didn't see the woman who had raised Delaney through 2 jobs and a mortgage she almost couldn't pay. They saw a prop, an afterthought. 3 days earlier, I'd signed the sale papers. The house Delaney grew up in, the house she once called ours, was no longer under my name alone. It belonged to someone else now. Someone who'd never call me background noise. I'd started preparing the day she made me wait outside during her dress fitting because the space was tight. The same day she introduced her fiancé's mother as my second mom. So I began documenting. Quietly. Precisely. Every gift charged to my card without thanks. Every text she left on read. Every time she used my address for deliveries she never picked up. Delaney mistook silence for surrender. She forgot that I used to audit entire departments for fraud, and I never lost a file. Not once. As the party went on behind me, I walked to my car, parked 2 blocks down where I wouldn't ruin the aesthetic. The sun had already started to dip. I turned the key engine humming beneath me like a quiet truth. This was never about the wedding. It was about the years she rewrote without me in them. And now, I was finally picking up the pen. The morning after Miles died, Delaney brought over lemon muffins from a bakery she liked. She placed them on the counter like a peace offering, but her tone held no softness when she spoke. "You should start thinking about downsizing," she said, pulling open my pantry. "Half this stuff is expired, and the other half is chaos." She tossed 2 cans into the trash before I could respond. I hadn't even had coffee. That was the first shift. Not from grief to comfort, but from daughter to manager. 2 weeks later, she returned with color swatches. "Once I move in, we'll give this place a real style," she laughed, holding up a paint card labeled something vague like linen dusk. I remember looking at the swatch then at the walls Miles painted himself. I started a file that night. Receipts. Personal. I labeled it in bold, stuck it behind my sewing machine, and began to fill it. The comments got sharper. "You don't even wear this stuff," she said while fingering my jewelry box. I offered her a bracelet 4 generations old. She turned it in her hand like a trinket from a thrift store. "This isn't really my taste," she said, smiling as she handed it back. Maybe it was cool back then. I smiled too. Then I wrote down the date, the bracelet, and her words. Grief never came the way I thought it would. It arrived quietly in the places someone else started taking over. Closets, garden beds, memories. I caught her once calculating the square footage of the house out loud, as if rehearsing for a listing. When I said nothing, she assumed agreement. But silence doesn't mean surrender. I stopped baking. I stopped offering suggestions. I let her take over things that didn't matter while I took back the ones that did. And every time she said, "You won't need all this much longer," I smiled. Because she was right, she just had no idea in which direction the change was coming. The walls in this house aren't thick. I wish they were. I was in the laundry room when I heard her voice drift in from the guest room phone, balanced on speaker. "She's just background noise. She'll be gone soon anyway." Laughter followed hers and someone else's. I didn't cry. I folded a towel, set it down, and walked straight to the bedroom. Opened the bottom drawer, pulled out the binder, and wrote the date. Word for word, I recorded what I'd heard. Then I reached for the lockbox at the back of the closet. I hadn't opened it since Miles died. Dust clung to the corners. Inside were insurance documents, stock certificates, and the original draft of his will. Tucked between the pages was a clause I'd forgotten. He added the year Delaney dropped out of college and drained her savings in 6 months. If Delaney demonstrates actions inconsistent with ethical or moral integrity, the estate may be redirected in part or full to Kyle Ashford. Kyle, my grandson, the quiet one who never asked for much, who noticed when I was tired or when I skipped lunch, the only person who still called me just to talk. The next morning, I made an appointment with an estate attorney I found through a friend. He read the clause twice, then looked up. With a notarized affidavit, and if you keep good documentation, this could absolutely hold, especially if she's already misused your finances or property. I said, "What if I have both?" He smiled. "Then it's just a matter of time." I nodded. "Then I'll collect more." The folder grew thicker over the next few days. Screenshots, voicemails, bank alerts. Colleen Ashford might be background noise to her daughter, but Kyle knew better. And I hadn't spent my life raising a boy who didn't know how to pay attention. I found the USB behind the tea towels wedged between fabric and silence. A little strawberry. Kyle gave it to me 2 summers ago after we spent an afternoon picking fruit at a farm an hour south of town. He said I needed something friendlier than filing cabinets. I thought it was sweet, almost silly. Now it was evidence. I plugged it into my old laptop at 5:02 p.m. The screen glowed quiet and unflinching. Folders labeled like receipts, texts, audio, screenshots, social. I clicked. Instagram caption from Delaney beneath a photo of her bridesmaids holding champagne, normalize not inviting toxic parents. A screenshot of a group chat named Wedding Aesthetic, where someone typed, "Her energy is draining. No moms in the getting ready photos, please." Another message. "She tries too hard. It ruins the vibe." A voice memo recorded accidentally, I think. Delaney sighing loudly. "She's so depressing. No one wants that around on the wedding weekend." There was a florist invoice for $389, charged to my card. Attached note in the order form. "Thanks for not coming. The silence suits you." And the bracelet again, my grandmother's bracelet photographed on a countertop beside a cappuccino. The caption, "A stunt. Try hard heirloom guilt gift." Each file landed like a stone in a pond. No splash, just depth. I copied everything into the binder, naming each document with dates, times, sources. Detailed, factual, unemotional. My grief wasn't theatrics, it was accounting now. I didn't scream. I didn't confront. I turned the laptop off, opened a clean page in my notebook, and wrote one line. This isn't revenge. It's reclamation. Because revenge wants them to hurt. Reclamation only needs the truth. And if silence was what she wanted from me, the real question wasn't whether I could give it. It was whether she understood what quiet really sounded like when it rolled in with consequence. The realtor showed up in soft tones and flat shoes, walking through the house like it was still alive. She paused in the hallway and touched the molding. Beautiful craftsmanship. Original. I nodded. My husband and I stripped the paint by hand. She smiled, scribbled a note. Didn't ask why I was selling. That was part of her skill, knowing what not to ask. As we stepped into the dining room, my phone buzzed in my pocket. 3 times. I didn't check it. She admired the built-ins complemented the refinished oak floors. I told her the fireplace still worked. She called it charming. Outside, we walked the garden path Miles had laid one spring with stone from the local quarry. She crouched to examine the edging. "People will love this," she said. "It feels rooted." Buzz. Another message. By the time she left, I had 4 missed calls and 3 voicemails. First, "Hey Mom, weird Zillow alert." Second, "Was someone in the house today?" Third, "Is this a prank?" I didn't respond. 2 days later, the photographer arrived. A young man with neat hair and quiet shoes. He set up his tripod in the sunroom. "This room gets lovely light," he said, adjusting his lens. "It held a lot of birthdays," I said. He nodded and clicked. We moved through the house in silence. I offered coffee. He declined. When he left, I walked out with a hammer and posted the sign in the front yard myself. For sale. Historic 3BR. No fanfare, no announcement, just a shift. A signal. Delaney's text came that evening. "Are you serious?" No punctuation, no greeting. As if she had tripped over a step that had always been there but never noticed. I didn't reply. I copied the message, printed it, and slid it into the binder behind the florist invoice. Let her feel it now. That strange tilt when the ground moves under your feet, and you realize too late that nothing was ever truly yours. The call came at 7:42 a.m., just as the kettle started to whistle. "Mrs. Ashford," the voice said calmly, "have you recently applied for a $40,000 mortgage with First Beacon?" I lowered the flame, turned off the stove. "No," I said. A pause. Then, "We believe someone has submitted an application using your name, social security number, and address." The signature matches, but not quite. I asked who Delaney Reynolds. Delaney's legal name. I didn't answer right away. I reached for the chair by the window, the one with the cushion, Miles always flattened. The lawyer continued. "She attempted to leverage existing equity on the home, but the title's already in escrow." The system flagged the inconsistency. The roses outside the window looked heavy with dew. "Last week, Delaney said they were too overgrown. We should just rip them out. Start fresh." The same breath she used to say that now tried to plant her own future in a place that no longer belonged to her. She used my SSN, I asked again, though I already knew. "Yes," he confirmed. "And it wasn't just the loan. There's a florist invoice tied to your card, a designer gown deposit, and a co-sign attempt for a second property, all under your name." He paused. "It's now identity theft." "This is criminal." I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. I ended the call politely, then went to the drawer, pulled out the binder, and started a new tab. Fraud. Intentional. 3 copies of the loan application went inside. I pressed one rose petal between the pages, still damp from mourning. It's strange when someone no longer has the power to hurt you. Their betrayal feels like paperwork. No sting, just process. She'd signed her name under mine. She just didn't realize I'd already erased it. The invitation arrived, printed on thick cream paper, heavy with confidence. Sunday brunch. Family reset. No apology. No real warmth. Just an assumption that I would show up ready to fold back into place like a chair after a party. I came on time. Not because I believed in her reset, but because I needed witnesses. The cafe smelled of espresso and early afternoon sunlight. Tables were crowded with laughing couples, plates stacked high. Delaney chose a corner booth framed by a fake flower wall meant for photos, for flair, for image, for illusions. I wore the necklace she once smirked at thrift store, sad she'd called it. Today, it rested at my collarbone like punctuation. She was already smiling when I sat down. "Glad you made it, Mom. Thought we could—" I set the envelope on the table between us. Manila. Unassuming. Heavy enough to rearrange gravity. "Something old," I said. "Something true." She opened it. Her smile stalled, then split. "You— What is this? You sold my house." "No," I replied evenly. "I sold my house, the one you committed fraud against." The air shifted. Even the fork in her hand paused mid-hover. A chair moved behind me. My attorney stepped forward, quiet, precise. "As of Friday, Chelsea Reynolds has been formally removed from the estate. All assets previously assumed by association are rescinded. No theatrics, no dramatics, just truth delivered like a verdict." Delaney blinked. Once, twice. The color drained so fast it looked rehearsed. One of the bridesmaids whispered, "Oh my God." Claire, our longtime neighbor invited by Delaney, ironically reached into her purse and pressed play on her phone. Delaney's voice filled the table clear as cut glass. "She's just background noise. She'll be gone soon anyway." No one laughed this time, not even the people who were paid to flatter her. I didn't need to speak again. The silence did the rest, spreading outward like cracks, deciding their shape, slow, inevitable, irreversible. By Monday morning, brunch drama was trending on 3 different platforms. One of Delaney's bridesmaids had posted a photo of the manila envelope beside half-eaten avocado toast. The caption read, "Well." That backfired. Another had filmed me mid-sip, holding my coffee steady while Delaney's face collapsed across from me. The internet loved the contrast, calm against chaos, stillness beside spectacle. Delaney scrambled to get ahead of it. Taken out of context, she posted, "It was a misunderstanding. Please respect our privacy during this personal time. But screenshots don't lie. The florist note the wedding invoices, the forged loan application, they didn't require interpretation. They were timestamps of arrogance, artifacts of someone who thought consequences were for other people." I didn't post anything. I didn't need to. My silence spoke volumes, and for once, people listened. Kyle came over that afternoon. He didn't mention the video or the brunch or the avalanche his mother had triggered with her own hands. Instead, he brought a folded star map and a blue pen. We sat in the backyard while the wind lifted old leaves from the flower beds. "I want to name one after you," he said, carefully, tracing lines from Vega to Lyra. "One that doesn't blink out." I looked up. The sky was still pale, not quite ready, but the idea warmed something in me I hadn't felt in months. "All right," I said. "Pick a bright one." Delaney once told her friends I was a ghost, always hovering, never really part of the picture. Now the world could see who had disappeared from their own story. The views kept climbing. Her followers dropped. Sponsors backed out of the wedding collab she'd pitched. Even the venue reposted the brunch clip with the caption, "We don't condone this behavior." Kyle handed me the pen. "Right there," he said. "That one." I wrote my name beside a star that didn't blink. The ripple became a landslide. Delaney's credit dropped hard after the fraud alert hit her file. Her pending mortgage denied. The venue pulled out. The bakery canceled. The florist posted a refund notice and quietly followed me. The house, long gone. The dress listed on a resale site for $900. It stayed there week after week. No watchers. No offers. Just a fading thumbnail in a marketplace full of dreams that never fit. Jason left. No fight, no message, just absence. One bridesmaid deleted every photo with her. The others simply stopped responding. Even her future in-laws went quiet. She lost more in 2 weeks than she ever thought I could take. And I hadn't taken anything. I'd just stopped giving. The voicemail arrived on a Thursday night. My phone lit up at 10:46 p.m. "Mom," her voice cracked small. "I don't know what to do anymore. No apology, no ownership, just fear." I didn't answer. I sat in the dark with the phone in my hand. I listened. Then I pressed delete. Forgiveness and access are not the same. I wasn't angry anymore. That part had long passed. I had simply moved out of her reach. The next morning, Kyle came over before school. We made banana muffins his request. He measured the flour too slowly on purpose, so I'd correct him just to laugh. We listened to music. Real music, not the kind curated for brunches. He didn't ask about Delaney. I didn't bring her up. The house felt lighter now, like something had been lifted instead of lost. I poured milk into 2 glasses and handed him one. He said, "These are the good kind." And I said, "I know." Outside, the sky stretched pale and wide. The garden waited for us to plant new things. Some doors don't slam shut. They close gently, and then they lock. Not to punish, just to keep the right things inside. Kyle stacked the couch cushions like bricks, balanced two blankets across the top, and crawled underneath with a flashlight and a book. He called it the Castle of Second Chances. I laughed, not loudly. Just enough that he looked up and smiled, proud of the name. The room was still half unpacked. The new house smelled of paint and soil and something clean. I hadn't brought many things. Just what mattered. This house belonged to the trust now. Not me, not Delaney. The paperwork was done. The ink had dried. Kyle's name sat on page 3 beside mine, small but permanent. Delaney's name didn't appear once. I drank coffee from the chipped mug Miles once gave me as a joke. World's okayest mom. I used to hate that phrase. It made me feel like I hadn't measured up. Now I liked it. It was honest. Not perfect. Not spectacular. Just okay. And still standing. The fort rustled as Kyle shifted. It's got secret tunnels, he called out. And all the guards are nice. I believe it, I said. I folded the paperwork one last time, slid it into a fireproof box, and placed it in the cabinet behind the books. I didn't need to look at it again. I walked to the window. The yard needed planting. The fence needed repainting. The porch light flickered when the wind hit just right. Still it was mine. I looked past the road and whispered almost to myself, "You thought I was background noise." The memory didn't sting anymore. It just echoed. Once, then faded. I traced a finger along the glass. "But I built the walls you thought would carry your name." She never asked how the walls got there. She only measured what she thought she'd inherit. Kyle peeked out from under the blankets holding a peanut butter cracker in his hand like an offering. "Want to come in?" he asked. I did. And for once, I didn't worry about what I'd left behind.